If you ever feel out of control around food, you're not alone, and you're in the right place to learn practical, no-nonsense information about why you binge and how to stop. Binge eating does not mean that something is wrong with you. It's a natural but primitive brain response that you can correct. If you're ready for change, sign up for the Brain Over Binge self-paced online course for less than $20 per month. And if you feel you need personalized support, we also offer one-on-one coaching and group coaching. To learn more, go to brainoverbinge.com/subscribe. And I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to the Brain Over Binge podcast, where you learn a simple, brain-based approach to ending binge eating. I'm Katherine Hansen, and I want to thank everyone for being here to listen to this episode. It's actually storming where I am recording this introduction. I'm not sure if you can hear that or not, but I just wanted to explain if there's a little background noise. For those of you who are listening to this podcast for the first time, I'm the author of Brain Over Binge and the Brain Over Binge Recovery Guide. And it's my goal, both in the books and on this podcast, to make recovery doable for anyone who wants to be free of binging. I don't believe you need a personal transformation to free yourself from the habit of binge eating. And I want to teach you how you can overcome this habit. This episode's topic addresses something that's often connected with the binge eating habit, and that's exercise. I've addressed exercise and fitness in a couple of other episodes, but I wanted to bring Brain Over Binge coach Julie on the show today to share her ideas on this topic because they're very helpful and insightful. She teaches her private coaching clients and people in the Brain Over Binge group to decouple food and exercise, which means to break the strong association and often unhealthy link that people can have in their minds between food and exercise. So with that introduction, I'll share this conversation with Julie. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Katherine. So great to be with you.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk today about decoupling food and exercise. And this is actually a lesson that you did with the Brain Over Binge group that the group really found very helpful. And I thought it was amazing. And I just thought if we came and shared it with the podcast listeners, it could be very helpful for them too.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing this, especially since you and I are both former exercise bulimics. So we know of what we speak here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, exercise was definitely very intertwined with all of my struggles with food and weight, and just being able to find freedom and a peaceful relationship with exercise and food is just, I mean, it opens up a whole different life.
Totally. Couldn't agree more.
Julie, to get started, there was this quote that you started the lesson with in the group lesson, and I thought it was just amazing. And I wonder if we could start there. It was a quote by Rumi that really applied to what we're talking about.
Yeah. You want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay, so don't move the way fear makes you move. Move the way love makes you move. And that's by Rumi. It's such a beautiful quote.
Yeah. And when you read that, I was like, wow, that's so powerful, because so much of my own experience and the experience I hear about with others in relation to exercise, it is often based on fear. We're making decisions on how to move our body and how to exercise based on what we think we should do or we have to do, or, someone else tells us we have to do. And all of that is out of fear.
No question about it. I mean, this whole paradigm of using exercise as punishment or as compensation or as the path to earn a meal.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned earning meals, because that is something I think is very common. And I think there is this impulse to exercise so that you can eat, but that should never be the case.
No, exactly. I mean, I say this, I'm going to say it again. You have 100% permission now, today, in this moment, to eat adequately in order to expect and allow urges and celebrate. It is top of the pile. Yeah, eating adequately is the most important thing to do in order to recover. More important than anything. I really believe that fully.
And you don't only eat adequately if you've exercised. That's not how it works. You eat adequately regardless of how much you've moved that day.
Every single day.
And if you do move a lot that day, a lot of times you need to eat even more, because it's so important to fuel your exercise with enough calories, with enough nourishment to support whatever activity you're doing.
Yes. I mean, we can get to that later, but I think top is that, it's so important to just completely decouple exercise with what you eat and weigh. Like, this is the biggest thing, because there's this myth that it's like, I need to burn a certain amount of calories and then I can eat that many calories. I mean, I remember when I was really into running and, some of the jokes with the runners were like, I run marathons so I can eat as much pasta as I want. And it's like, it's completely wrong-headed because it sets up this paradigm where it's like, I get to eat if I do X. And that's not how it works at all.
And it's interesting you brought up the example of running, and I hear people who work out, who run, who do different types of sports, kind of saying these things casually, like, oh, I did this, so I get to have dessert. You almost hear, quote unquote, normal eaters use these kind of terms, and it's upsetting to me because I'm like, no, you get to eat that if you want it, regardless of what you did.
Exactly. It's like, it's this myth. I mean, yes, like if you are a marathon runner or an Olympic athlete or you're training for a triathlon, obviously your fueling needs are going to be very different than the average human who's, moving their bodies through life. But in general, for people who are not doing that type of exercise, we eat adequately every single day, no matter what, just because we are alive and we are human. And then we move our bodies for the pleasure of movement, loving our body, all with full permission and full pleasure as a way of healing. But it's loving movement. So if you love to walk, take a walk. If you love yoga, do some yoga. If you love to dance or do Pilates, do whatever you love because movement is pleasurable and our bodies are designed for movement and it's a great stress release. However, it has nothing to do with whether or not you eat.
Yeah, Julie, I mean, exercise is very promoted in our culture. And yes, it can have benefits when done in the right way. But actually, for a lot of people, it ends up being a very stressful thing that leads to, injuries, that leads to just them feeling worse overall when, they originally set out to do it to feel better.
Yeah, no question. I mean, I'm living proof of that. All of my years of exercise bulimia have, it's left me permanently injured where I couldn't run if I wanted to at this point. And the reality is that high intensity, vigorous exercise is a stressor on the body. It increases appetite, it increases inflammation, it can increase anxiety. And while many people love it, they love it, and I would never suggest stopping something that you love. It's just really important to check in with your motivation behind it and also your real emotions behind it. Like, are you doing it with joy and elation, or are you going into it with a sense of dread and I just have to get this done because I ate so much yesterday or I want to eat a lot later?
Yeah, or just feeling sort of compulsively driven toward it. I think a lot of people develop a really strong habit of exercise and almost feel like a failure in their day if they don't get that workout done. And it's almost like becomes a form of self-punishment.
Correct. Exactly. I mean, and so that's that whole notion of like shifting into this idea of moving for the pleasure of movement as a way to love your body, and truly finding ways of moving that you love. I say eat foods you love that love you back, and I say move in ways you love that love you back.
Yeah, I love that. And it has to love you back. And I think of my own experience, and I was also an exercise bulimic, and the amount of exercise I did after binges was just awful. And I ended up like you with injuries, and just the way exercise feels now compared to the way it feels then, it's just a completely different thing. And like you talked about a little earlier about how it creates inflammation, it increases cortisol, and it's just kind of a stressful thing. And days that, I feel especially anxious or stressed, I don't add that extra stressor of exercise. I'll do something like a walk or yoga, or you develop a connection with your body that your body kind of tells you what you need as far as movement. And you don't have to make yourself do this strenuous workout when that's just kind of adding stress on top of other stress you're experiencing.
So great. I love that. Yes, exactly. Because again, it's asking yourself this question, like, what feels like love? How can I discover ways of moving that I love and enjoy? How can I celebrate all the things that my body can do? This is how we start treating our body like a friend and developing that like loving relationship where it's like, yeah, my body has a lot of wisdom and it's going to tell me, oh, today, today's like a gentle yoga day because there's a lot going on and I'm a little achy and that feels like love today. And oh, it's gorgeous outside. I'm looking forward to taking a really long walk, a brisk walk maybe. But, it's just like really connecting with that wisdom.
Yeah. And your inner wisdom, and not like what someone else is telling you you should do, or what someone you know is doing, or what someone's posting on Instagram. It's easy to be influenced to let other people tell you what you need as far as moving your body, when really you want to come at it in a very internal way.
Yeah, exactly. Just like nobody's inside of your body when it comes to finding your own formula for eating, nobody's inside of your body in terms of finding your own formula for movement, which isn't to say if you have a coach that you're working with, or a trainer that you're working with, or you're in a CrossFit gym, or, if you have these ways of moving and you truly love it, keep doing it. Amazing. It's just, again, remembering adequate eating is a birthright. It's necessary in order to feel and live well. And movement is good for many things, but not for earning the right to eat. And if you're moving in a way that you are dreading, or it's causing you injury, and you're finding that, you do it because you feel this compulsion like you have to, that is something to really check in with.
For sure. And I love the title of this lesson that you did with the group, which was Decoupling Food and Exercise. And it's just like, okay, exercise is over here, and I'm going to approach it in a self-caring way with self-love and find ways to move that love me back. And then over here is my eating. And they're not so interconnected like people often make them out to be.
That's right.
Yeah. Another thing I want to mention about exercise is people often think like, if I don't do it, my weight's going to spiral out of control, or I have to do this amount of exercise to burn this amount of calories to be this weight. But like, the body is so much more wise and complicated than that. I mean, it's definitely not, weight is not a calories in, calories out equation. Like, the body is very, very complex. And I think like detaching exercise from weight is also a very important thing to do as well.
Yeah, it's very, very important, because it's actually like a falsely promoted myth. If you move more, you're going to weigh less. And so that whole calories in, calories out equation, and those calorie counters on those machines that people like to look at, and our watches that are tracking everything, it's like, take all of that with a grain of salt. And just remember that if you're eating in a way that you love, that loves you back, gives you good energy, and you're moving your body with a really loving approach, that everything balances out. And I mean, Catherine, I think you and I are living proof of that. Again, two former exercise bulimics who now eat in ways we love, that love us back, and move our bodies. I love to move my body. I move my body every day, but I don't move my body to earn food. And I don't ever dread the movement that I do, because I'm never trying to punish myself or push myself past my capacities.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a balance. Like you said, it's listening to your body. And it's amazing when you don't diet, when you don't exercise out of fear, the body just maintains homeostasis just effortlessly. You don't have to try to control it. So I just encourage you to find joy in exercise, like Julie is saying, because it's so powerful.
Yeah. And a couple of questions again for people who are listening, just ask yourself, I'll repeat these questions. What feels like love? What feels energizing? What feels fun? What feels grounding? What feels empowering? What makes me feel good? And think about things that you loved to do when you were a kid. I mean, if you watch children, if you watch animals, like, they move all the time and they rest all the time with full permission and full pleasure. In fact, they eat with full permission and full pleasure too. They do it all. Right? It's like, watch those models and think about yourself as a child. How did you love to move? Did you love to ride a bicycle? Did you love to swim? Did you love to dance? Did you love to be on a team? What did you love to do? Just reconnect with that.
Those are great questions. And I sense that a lot of the listeners' objection might be, well, that's going to be so hard, and I don't know if I can do that. And I loved your response to this in the group. Some of the group members were like, this is going to be hard to detach exercise from food. And you're like, what if it's actually easier?
Yeah, so much easier. What if actually what's hard is punishing yourself with exercise and not allowing yourself to eat in a way that nourishes and sustains your body because you didn't earn it that day? You never need to earn your food again. You eat adequately in order to be able to expect and allow urges. And you move your body for the pleasure of moving. And that is the easy path.
The more people can step back and see that what they're doing now is hard. This is the struggle, to try to punish yourself with exercise and to be able to let that go. Yeah, there might be some discomfort in doing something you've never done before, But on the other side of it is the ease.
Exactly. Not just the ease, but the ease and the trust that you build with your body. Because again, just like we talk about with as you start to learn adequate eating, that your body is going to start to trust you again and show you like that it's well nourished. And if there is weight to lose, slowly and gradually, it starts to all normalize. Same thing with movement. For those of us who have been punishing ourselves with movement and are sustaining injuries and have chronic inflammation and joint pain and other kinds of like pain that we're carrying all the time, as we start to move in more loving ways, all of that resolves. And there's this loving relationship that develops between ourselves and our bodies. It's very healing.
Absolutely. So to sort of wrap up this conversation, I know this is something you talk about a lot in the group. It wasn't only this lesson. I know exercise is something that comes up on the forum, on the group calls. How do you work with people around this, or what transformations have you seen in people's relationship with exercise in the group?
Yeah, great question. I will say that I created this lesson because this conversation kept coming up again and again and again and again. And that is exactly what I do in the group. As things come up, I start creating materials for people in the group so that they have the support that they need. And yes, this is a conversation that we revisit often because it is okay to ask the same question over and over and over again, because when you are ready to receive the message, it'll land. But again, it's just constantly pointing back that this is the easy path. People are always saying, oh, but it's hard to stop binging. And it's like, actually, what if it's easier? It's hard to decouple exercise and food. And it's like, actually, what if it's easier? What if it's easier to never starve yourself again, to never punish yourself with exercise to the point of exhaustion or as a way to allow yourself to eat? What if instead you show yourself you always eat adequately, and then you move in ways that really support yourself?
Yeah. And I love that you meet people where they are in the group and you provide them with the resources that they need at the time. And I think that it's not only exercise, it's so many topics that come up in the forum. And then you do these amazing lessons and people can go back to them at any time. And, if you're having trouble with exercise that day, then press play on the decoupling food and exercise lesson,
That's right,
either on the app or on the website. And you get a refresher and you can focus on what you need to focus on for that day. So, maybe just talk about a few more benefits of the group and then we'll close out this conversation.
Yeah, great. And I love what you mentioned. That's such a great point that, on any given day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, people are reaching out to me for support on the forum because they have access to that. And on any given day, I'll say, hey, you should check out lesson 3 on this, or lesson 10 on decoupling food and exercise, or lesson 11 on finding pleasure in life, and there's always that access. And people can go back and watch coaching calls where I've answered that question in different ways, because maybe one answer will land with somebody and one answer will land differently on a different day. And so people have access to all of those resources, as you said, both on Soundwise, so they can listen on their phone, or on the website. And they also have obviously access to your amazing audio course. And then there are the live coaching calls every Sunday, including this Sunday, and people can sign up anytime. So it's so much access to all the support you need in any way. And it's such a positive, loving, forward-focused place. And it's very dynamic because people's needs shift and change all the time. And I'm always thinking of different ways to help support people.
Yes. So I really encourage everyone out there who needs that extra support to definitely join the group, because Julie has been there. Like, she knows how to help you through these challenges, whether it's exercise, weight, any sort of issue you're having with food. And to do that, you can go to brainoverbinge.com/group. And Julie, do you have any final words?
Just again, that last question, right? What feels like love? Really ask yourself that. And I just think it would be nice to end again with that beautiful quote from Rumi. Don't move the way fear makes you move. Move the way love makes you move.
Perfect. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here, Julie. It's been great talking to you.
Oh my God, my pleasure.
I hope you took away some useful ideas that you can use to develop a healthy relationship with both food and exercise. We mentioned joining the amazing group, but also know that there is the option to work with Julie privately in one-on-one sessions. You can find information about that at brainoverbinge.com/1, the word one, -on-1 -coaching. And any link that I mention is always in the show description. If you aren't sure if the group or one-on-one coaching is the correct fit for you and your specific challenges, you can jump on a call this Saturday with Julie to ask her your questions. She's doing a Zoom call that's open to everyone and free of charge. And if you're listening at the time this episode is released, that's this Saturday, May 27th, from 2 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can get to know Julie and her coaching style and determine how coaching can help you. To join the call, simply go to the Zoom link in the show description this Saturday at 2 p.m. I really appreciate you being here today. I believe in you that you can not only end binging, but put aside your struggle with exercise as well. And as always, I want to encourage you and remind you that you have the power to change your brain and live a binge-free life. The Brain Over Binge podcast is produced and recorded by Brain Over Binge Recovery Coaching, LLC. All work is copyrighted by Brain Over Binge Recovery Coaching, LLC, and all rights are reserved. As a disclaimer, the hosts of the Brain Over Binge podcast are not professional counselors or licensed healthcare providers, and this podcast is not a substitute for medical advice or any form of professional therapy. Eating disorders can have serious health consequences, and you are strongly advised to seek medical attention for matters relating to your health. Please get help when you need it, and good luck on your journey. Need more help? You can find all of our current and upcoming options for support at brainoverbinge.com.